I feel many souls tonight.
Yes, we have visitors out there.
There is one soul among you who is deeply bothered.
You have a message for him?
Not him, but her.
All right.
Think thee of thy inner soul. Think thee of the soul of spirits. Think thee of a soul with wings. Think thee that thou cannot run or fly from thyself. Accept thyself and accept the other souls around thee for what they are, and not for what thee should have them to be. This soul is a new soul to your group. She has many doubts in her mind, many doubts of all around her. If thou would turn the bright light from thy soul rays' eyes, it would be more restful to he.
Is that better?
Yes, that is better. I have many questions on my mind from many souls, some present, some not present. Speak of them, and I shall ask for permission to be granted of these souls.
You remember we talked of being old friends.
Yes.
I wondered if you might tell me if there is any relationship between the comet which appeared in the east a couple of weeks ago and your coming.
For in God's plan, as I have told you before, that God's soul is like the pebbles of a brook. That man's spirit is like the pebbles of a river. That man's soul is like the pebbles of an ocean. In God's plan, not only here, but in many places in thy world, thy coming has been announced. Thy coming of the mighty sword and its meaning, the sword which cuts two ways, and both sides shall cut. If thou should read the book of Revelation, think thee of thy horse, for now is the time of the red horse, and his passing is for all men to see. If man heeds God's warning, and should see from the light in the sky, then God may take his many children to his mansions and weep no more. As I have told you before, one by one, and two by two, and three by three, if thy groups shall number always as 13 and 13, to repeat and repeat again, as it has done from the beginning of time, then my mission, and I, who of many souls, should say, with all their consent, there should be no reason for me, for then God's temple shall be built in all the souls of man. And therefore the other seals should not be open. And then thy reign of the Lord upon this earth shall go for 1,000 years, and take from the earth, as we built the block in Ray's mine, so should the block be in all souls of the world. Can you understand this?
I can understand the block that is very necessary. The 13 I would like a little more explanation on. This, or may I say that from what I've been able to gather, this is our solar system and it's turning around the sun in one reference, but possibly there are other references.
When I think of the number 13, 13 to God, 7 to God, and then there was 4. And then we cast from thy heavens those who are not deserving. Yet this had to be restored. So, in Christ's time, this was restored once again. But then thy chain was broken once again. Now we shall try and restore it once more on this plane of yours. Should we succeed, then thy planes ahead and thy planes behind shall meet as one in God's mansion. And God shall weep no more. Sometimes in my speech through soul ray, to turn from my plane to his is sometimes hard for the souls of my plane, and sometimes our speech will be as riddles. We do not mean it so. If at any time there is doubt, please ask of this doubt. We read this doubt of your mind. In your travels, we have read doubt. Please ask of this doubt, and should I be permitted, I shall answer. You have a reading from a small child. This worries me very much, for this is an essential.
This is on Millie?
This is true on Soul Millie.
All right.
And this reading shall be granted. Margaret has asked that a general health reading to be given on Millie. Normally, through Margaret's request, this could not be granted. This request comes from the child's mother. And the mother has explained to the child, wherefore all souls are in accord. There shall be no interlock. And the souls really, her biggest problem at this time is that the child's body is developing far beyond her age and numbers. Her time for administration is about to start. Her mother is hard to believe this because of the years. The child needs very definitely to see a good gynecologist. Therefore, it would be suggested that there is a doctor doctor in Tucson, Arizona, who we would recommend, not because he is so much greater than others, but he would be practical in their small budget for medical needs, and be sympathetic both toward the child and the parents' financial needs. His name is Dr. Scott. He was connected a few years before with the Dr. Bernard. He is very good and should be consulted. Next, with this child, since they did not ask for only a medical reading and not a life reading on this child. The other information on the child's life cannot be given at this time. But the child's diet should be changed very definitely. Next, first I should finish with the diet. I must seek some information on this. If you would wait for a moment, I should have it. All right. Yes. Now we have the full information. The child's diet consists of too many starches. Therefore, she should have more protein in her diet. Should this be done with a rare meat, the child should have the liver of beef. The child should have not of the black olive, but of the green olive. More of this. The child should have a more regulated diet. In other words, 3 meals a day. For fasting for this child is not good, because she is developing so fastly that her body is eating up all of the energy. Second, there are certain vegetables the child should have more of in her diet. One, the child is a slight diabetic. Therefore, when you're preparing and eating at least once a day a Jerusalem artichoke, this would be very necessary in her diet. This is the reason, one of the reasons for the child feeling as though she doesn't care. Next, partially, more of this should be served the child. More okra would be very good. Second, the child should have more fish in her diet, at least once a week. Now include your group. This child should stop drinking the water from this area at this time. The water is contaminated. It is affecting the child's nervous system very, very harshly. They should purchase their drinking water. Third, the child has and should have a mother, preferably. The child has certain desires of a physical nature. They are interfering with her religious state of what she is being taught, that these things are wrong. Therefore, she feels herself fulfilling these urges deeply in sin. This is wrong. Teach not a child that the natural things of the body are sin. Teach her of her waiting, but of the wonders God has placed in the body. This does not come from the devil, as some have thought, but from the Lord, our God, our Father. Now, the child's spiritual need should be fed. But as soon as possible, get her to a medical doctor. If not the one I have suggested, then another. But soon, the child's health is deeply in danger. That is all of the reading. And so many. This particular vein this child should have readings as she progresses. There will be certain changes in her chemical makeup of her body that she should heed. So her reading should be often. Once a week. At this time, that would do. All right. We have some of the important questions. I don't know which one to ask next. Ask the second reading I had in mind. Sylvia has requested a reading on her headache. Her headaches, as we have given this information to Soul Ray in his awakening, partially are from the lack of calcium in her body. Secondly, from the need of more rest. Thirdly, the chemicals of her body are greatly in danger at this time. You were given two suggestions by Soul Ray. One you have heeded, the second you have not. Yet, however, the other substance which Soul Ray has suggested. Then she needs more vitamin D. This would build if she could think of her soul at peace. Her headaches would go downward. First, have I her permission to give a medical reading? Yes. Then, with this in mind, we'll take it step by step. In your hypnosis, it's too fast, too swift. There's not enough time. You're crowding it too swiftly. You see? Yes. Take her in slowly and out very slowly. Leave her there for longer periods of time. Do not, and I repeat, do not try to suggest away any of the pains of her own body. These pains are there for a reason. Should you suggest, the mind sure takes the suggestion with the warning which her body is sending out. You are disguising. Therefore, she needs the hypnosis for the rest and the comfort of her soul. Secondly, she still has an injury of her back which she received as a small child, the pelvic. Before, it was suggested by Soul Ray that she see a chiropractor. Now, it is my suggestion that she see an osteopathic doctor for certain corrections of her pelvic region. This should be done immediately for her preparation for the birth of her child. I have warned you before of her diet. Put more fish in her diet. Put with her it would have to be cooked down quite a lot. Yet it would not really be necessary, but you could get the same thing from the soybean as you could from the beef. And probably in her case would do more good. You will find that you already have this information in a diet book by Soul Casey. Heed this. Remember though, that her soul is an individual soul with individual needs. If you should go ahead getting the one you have or one you haven't of the substance suggested by Soul Ray, her health will improve quite definitely. That is all for this time, and so, Sylvia.
The other substance was more calcium, is this correct?
This is true.
Thank you.
And some are off. But with the combination of the substance you already have and the substance known as Litty E. Pinkham, which can be purchased in the same store which you purchased the last, this will greatly improve.
Use the combination, you say?
Yes. But we should have regular readings on her so that her count on certain substances did not rise beyond the control.
Once a week suitable with her, too?
Yes.
How long is it safe to keep Ray in trance?
This I shall tell you because at one time it can be longer, at once it can be shorter. We must regulate ourselves to his body chemicals. And as they build, our time shall grow longer, but we cannot overdo it. Because if you do, the block is in danger. I shall tell you when I should grow weak. All right. Thank you. On groups of 13, should this be patterned after the study group booklet set up by the Association for Research and Enlightenment after the Edgar Casey Foundation theory? Up to a certain point, information on this subject will be given to you from time to time. This group you speak of is good. It has small difficulties there. This is the problem which I spoke before of having not all souls in the work in accord with one another and in accord with the work of God. It is good to discuss. It is good to be critical. But it is good to have doubt. But all souls must be in accord, and each move you should pick at this time, I would suggest, yourself to act as though what you would call on this plane as a club with presidents, vice presidents, secretaries, and etc. Not meaning that one person of this group should be more important than the other, because every one of you are important as souls. Each should have the right to speak his mind openly and freely at all times, on all subjects. Do not deny thyself any information from anywhere. At any time that you have questions, ask of these questions. Study all phases of this. Some of you will be better in some subjects than others, but by being better, you will teach the others. And some souls who only have one teardrop to add will be loved in God's eyes as much as the ones who shed many. Can you understand?
Do you have an osteopath that you would suggest for Ray, Margaret, Sylvia, and anyone else who would be sympathetic towards this work and also practical in the monetary end?
Yes. There is one in Tucson, and there are several in Phoenix. At this time, it has been suggested that this should come from thy free choice. This choice is suggested for this reason, Because, as I have said before, your body chemicals, all of you, are changing. So acceptance of this work may go on. With this in mind, it is time now for you to pick one for yourself. If you are in doubt, then there is an active path on McDowell Street. The number is 36, I think that is what I read. It is close to the downtown area. If I think right, it is off of 3rd Street after McDowell. The name is Dr. Jennings. I must check this again. Check. If you will give me a minute, I will look. Yes, now we have it. Dr. Jensen would be very sympathetic to your work. All right. But, as I said before, try on some things to pick of yourself. Because for what is good for one cannot always be good for all. All right. Well, I have a couple of other questions here, but I think possibly our visitors have some questions. One, surnamed John, was here last night, asked the question, who am I, past and present? John, Soul John, is himself. All he needs to do is find himself. He needs help. Give this to him. Bring him here, that I might speak with him. All right. One thing else. I shall say this much. The reason for his frustration is from another plane. It's something he must learn. Once he has learned this, then the knowledge of his previous planes, we will be glad to have known to him. That is all on Sir John at this time. All right. So Paul asks, I've worked on many jobs, but never been satisfied. What line of work should I be doing? And also, continuing, should I follow through with the discussion I've had with Howard Johnson? In the first one, I must continue But in thy man, think thee of James. Think thee long of James, study of James, then come back and ask again. Meditate. Think thee of thy past life. Thou hast paid with thy blood for thy mistakes. Do not walk backward, but forward. If thou will be one of that group, for thou shalt fit next to Paul. That is all. And so, Paul.
Can you answer the second question?
Yes. But he makes me sad. That he should ask. It's already in his mind. I would answer it this way. If thou could walk with thy hand in God's for the rest of thy days upon this plain, or thou could walk by thyself in this plain, which should thou choose? And there is your answer.
You asked one more question.
I have answered his questions.
I think so.
Any others? Well, you spoke of land in this area, or maybe we'd better wait on that. I would like to make a statement and have any correction necessary on it concerning this 13, and I may explain a bit to you. I've always felt that 13 was my particular number. And you spoke of the ending and the beginning of planes. I'm trying to put a picture together in my own mind. This beginning and ending of planes, or ending and beginning of planes, is this every 2,000 years, or approximately there, about?
No. The ending of the plains are when God may gather all of his children back to his mansion. A plain, as you speak of it, in itself, for one soul, can last far beyond 2,000 years.
I see.
A plain
As I have spoke before of the beginning, as I have spoke before of not one galaxy, but many, many, many galaxies, of many, many worlds, so vast, so beautiful in God's making. Think thee of this. Think of the souls who would repeat and repeat again. Think thee that some may never repeat. Some on one plane may accomplish God's bidding and go home to his mansion. Some, there is never. These souls are lost. They have no spirit to return to, because in their life planes they have killed the spirit. So all was left was the soul to wander. There are some who live in your plane and walk upon your earth, who walk with neither soul nor spirit. Beware of these souls, because they would destroy thee. Beware also that one will come among you soon who at first will seem to have all knowledge in his mind of these works, yet he will know only of what he has read. He will try to use this for his own advantage. Soul Ray will not like him, and it will bother Soul Ray, because he is trying so hard to like all. But as I have spoke before, when we place the block in his mind, we placed it there for a reason. Gradually, as you progress, so this block shall build in your minds. But heed this for now, or she shall walk like a serpent.
She?
She. Of your plane. This you must understand. Here in this plane, we are all of the same. You have another question in your mind, and you have another soul here with a question in his mind. What he would ask.
I have a question from Betty. She asks, why do I find it hard to apply myself spiritually as I would like to?
Of your plane, all of you, not only Betty, but all of us who live upon your plane. And I say of myself, because I'm here right now, all of you
find it hard sometimes to think that you don't spend enough time in meditation. As I've told you before, spend what time I can. There are other things which need tending to too. And those are all part of God's work. But spend a little of each day in meditation. And God and God will come into thy mind more often than before. Think thee in thy meditation when thou meditate of one of thy controllers, which we shall call at this time just plain souled Ed. Think of him in your meditation, soul Betty, and he shall come to you in a way I have never thought before possible. When they leave here tonight, as thy sleep, a greater understanding will come in thy mind. By morning, I shall replace an awakening thought in your mind. Heed it. That is all for Soul Betty.
Any other questions? How much more time do we have, Atka?
A little more. Let Soul Tolliver speak what he must. If he does not, he shall bust like a balloon.
He says no.
Then it will wait till another time. But I shall say this of him. Tonight, in his dream, I shall come to thee. Now, I have information which has been given me, and permission has been given for me to give this information. As I have spoke before of the great sword, your group shall develop in many places across the world because your word and your work shall spread. You ask if this new comet were part of our coming. And I shall say yes, for there was a sign in the sky for the enlightenment of man's soul. Many shall grow restless, almost for hunger, for these words. Heed them, give them readily. Do not be afraid. There shall be critics, there shall be many. And poor Soul Ray shall be thought of almost as insane. We have prepared his body and soul
for these things to happen. He can stand it. And now of this great sword, the time shall come when the time of the cutting of the earth is at hand. There shall be very soon a large volcanic action toward the Mediterranean seas. This action shall spread clear across thy continent through to the Gulf of Mexico. From the Gulf of Mexico it shall spread and go clear up to the continent, a part of your continent which is known now as Alaska. This shall take a number of years to materialize in full, but it has already started. There are other places of thy earth which the sword is cutting. Be not afraid of this, because all of this is in God's plan. For, as I have said before, if the men of Christ are to stop this red horse in his triumph for world conquest, these things are necessary, so be not afraid. Now I am growing very weak, and it is time to awaken